태양이가 좋아하는 랜덤 게임 게임 스타트. 아파트 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 kissy face sent to your phone, but I'm trying to kiss your lips for real. Red hearts, that's what I'm on, yeah. Come give me something I can feel. Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? Sleep tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the 아파트 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 아파트
It's whatever you like. Turn this opposite into a club. I'm talking drink this, smoke free, party all night. Come on, come back, girl, what's up? Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? Sleep tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the
아파트 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 Hey, so now you know the game. Are you ready? 'Cause I'm coming to get you, get you, get you. Hold on, I'm on my way. Yeah, I'm on my way. Hold on, I'm on my way. Yeah, I'm on my way.
Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? Sleep tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the
Just meet me
just meet me at the just meet me at the
Watashi wa
Superstar, Megan, and Twice remix.
I get money, I'm a star. I get money, I'm a star. Kazeku, watashi wa star. Money, I'm a star. Body like a dog. They love me in my city, all the way to Korea. I'm always rocking ice. I'm everybody type. He had to do a double take. He see me, I was twice. I always set the tone. I always got it on. I tell a hater bitch because they always on my phone. I automatically forget it's on another time zone. I gotta stay fly. Airplane mode. I don't gotta wait for winter to get cold. I don't gotta wait the type to get bold. Head, shoulders, knees, toes. Work it out on body goals. Make them sing another language. I'm like Duolingo. I drop on a Friday. Knock it out like Devo. Money, I'm a star. I get money, I'm a star.
There we go. Now I should be on the right mic.
Okane kazeku, watashi wa star.
Hi, Jacob. I am trying to get my settings right.
On your mind. Oh, this real face, please just spin it out.
Actually, no, they're fine. There we go. Can you hear me okay? There we go. How's that? Is that balance better? How's everybody doing today? Good? I'm okay. think it should be fixed now. I can turn it down just a little bit more. Could also probably make my mic a little hotter. Hold on one second. Or let me know if that's okay. Okay, good. Yay. All right. Just making sure. I like going through OBS because I can see the bars and I can see where the line is at. But let me know how you're doing today. The thing that we're going to be talking about today is I'm going to start with the FGM movement, the female genital mutilation movement, as in like the anti-movement. There's been a lot over the years of people coming forward whose cultures practice this, and they're trying to get it to be stopped. Because even though I would really like to stop male circumcision, there's not as much health effects, serious health effects, like there is with female circumcision. Like some serious health effects. And so I'm going to bring up where is my thing? Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. I gotta go here, and then I can put it in. Here we go. All right, so basically, I don't know if anybody has heard of female circumcision. And this also leads me into talking about intersex surgeries, because, you know, all the people who are scared of kids being trans, there are still surgeries happening on intersex babies that are literally cosmetic, because for a very long time we've thought, if there's ambiguous genitalia, let's try and fix that, and then you just assign a sex that kind of makes sense for now, and just don't tell the kid what's wrong with it. And we now know what kind of issues that can have on a person who's growing up intersex. But here, this year, we've had people in Gambia. The parliament lifted the ban on female genital mutilation. So there was an uprise in getting it removed again. Gambian lawmakers voted on Monday, March 18th to advance the next parliamentary stage, a highly controversial bill that seeks to lift a ban on female genital mutilation, which is also called FGM, which has been in place since 2015. The issues has divided the tiny West African nation for months, with hundreds gathering to protest outside Parliament. The bill seeks to uphold religious loyalty and safeguard cultural norms and values. And let me tell you something. Just because a religion has something in it, or tradition or culture, doesn't mean that that thing is good. So, fuck religious protections. The use of a ban on female circumcision is direct violation of the citizens' right to practice their culture and religion. So messed up. So messed up. He added, but activists and rights organizations say the suggested legislation reverses years of progress and risks damaging the country's human rights record. Lawmakers voted 42 in favor and 4 against to send the bill to a parliamentary committee for at least 3 months for further scrutiny before it returns for a third reading. To hear mainly men speak on behalf of women, to hear mainly men speak So nobody told me that all of a sudden, nothing I said was coming through, because, whatever. My mic all of a sudden wasn't working, and I wasn't paying attention to my mic. So I'm not going to read all of this just because it's going to take me a while to do so. So I'm going to put the link oh, can I not? Shoot. I wonder if you can look it up, because there's always like a way that I find these PDFs. So this is the Atlantic article of it, and it looks like you have to pay for that, so I don't think that's gonna work. I wonder if the PDF is in the archive. Yeah, cannot find it, but it was by Olga Kazan for the Atlantic back in 2015 when the challenges started. So I just want people to like not do these things to themselves, not support them, because again, I don't give a shit what your religion is telling you to do or what your culture or traditions are. If you are harming yourself, harming other people, I say we get rid of that thing that you're doing. Because I will never accept someone saying, oh, the abuse that I'm going through is cool because God said so, Allah said so, whoever said so. It really bothers me that people still do this. And like, yeah, the elder people, even women in these cultures will, they've been through it, so they just want to keep pushing it down the line, and they enable this behavior. So thankfully, some have, stood up saying like, we don't want to do this anymore. But we as outsiders also need to stand with those people and also look at them and be like, look, I'm sorry. We want to culture meld, but if you're going to be removing parts of your body for no freaking reason that's on children, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. So, Olga Kazan, I'm just going to put this in the chat. So if you want to try and find an article or a PDF for that, and like I said, there's lots of articles around on why some women still choose to get circumcised. And then the pitfalls of plastic surgery. This is from a book. So I'm not going to post this because there's no way that you're going to be able to find just like probably a PDF of it. But it looks like it's just the chapter called The Pitfalls of Plastic Surgery. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Oh, no, you have to pay to get access probably. This is the crappy part about a lot of having these things in my classes that I can't I can download them and put them in like a Word, or not a Word doc, like Google Doc and send people the link if they're that curious. Let me see, will this show it? No, it won't. Let me type in PDF and see if that comes up. No, it does not. I wonder if there's any videos. Exploring the rise of plastic surgery and men. Oh, it looks like this person has been looking into plastic surgery in general. There are definite, like, some, let's see. Oh, 2015, I wonder what that, she is a best-selling author. What is her name? Camille Paglia. Or Paglia? I don't know how to pronounce that. She's French. I mean, this was 5 years ago, but we can kind of
Because
look
there's
at this.
something bigger going on when we hear the words plastic surgery tourism and you hear about these websites. Can you
Yes,
talk
they
to me a
choose
little
it.
bit about the
They will
larger
choose it 'cause they think that
organization
they
that's
have to.
luring women in?
Yes, so first I want to offer my condolences. It was really hard to watch that. Thank you. It makes me embarrassed about my field because this is not what it's for. Those groups are, you couldn't have stopped it because those groups, the SX groups or the surgery groups, they lure women in, and the women have no clue that they're being manipulated and brainwashed.
I'm covering that. I'm exposing them now.
That's right. And there's the administrators of the groups are behind the scenes like puppeteers, manipulating everything that the women see. Our phones are in our hand for the majority of the day, and they're watching before and after pictures and people at their consultations and right before surgery, selfies with their gown on in the pre-op area.
Yes.
And then, you know, like it's just constantly, and it's tens of thousands of women inside of these groups. And so it creates an obsession within the person who's looking at it, and they don't even realize it. So when they start to see the red flags when they get there, they're so obsessed with the outcome that they've been fed that they will do anything to make sure that it goes through.
Well, you know, I wanted to do this show because recently the New York Times called this entire thing out. It's a social media phenomenon, plastic surgery Instagram dolls, and in particular, these SX pages. And so, Dr. Mila, why don't you talk a little bit about the fact that there are so many people looking to do medical procedures outside of the United States because of cost?
So if you're in these groups and you decide, and then also they normalize getting 6 surgeries at one time, which is absurd.
Yes.
You know, they normalize it. So these women will go and get these literal overhauls. And if you go and do a consult in the United States for all the stuff that they want, that might cost $40,000 or $50,000. So then even though you may say, well, I'm just going to get surgery in the United States so I can be safe, when you go and get that estimate for $50,000, and somebody tells you they got it all in the Dominican Republic or Colombia or wherever for $8,000.
No worries. It is, a lot of these subjects are hard to talk about. I mean, it gets heavy, and there's something, you know, like body dysmorphia is very, you know, big, and when you have beauty standards being made each generation or each decade, things are changing so fast that you can't ever keep up with the beauty standards. Like, you know, in the 90s it was heroin chic is on fleek, you know. You had the makeup back then. The makeup techniques were terrible. Yeah, like the beauty standards change all the time, so I don't understand why some people put so much weight into making sure that they are keeping up with some sort of beauty standard that's just going to change in 10 years.
Including a 10-day stay in a recovery house, you're going to be like, well, all these girls were fine, so I'll probably be fine.
These are major surgeries.
Yes.
And what are the complications that women are facing that lead to death and that lead to the deformities that we heard about in Lindsay's case?
So excessive blood loss is one. Fat embolism is a big one. So a lot of the women get Brazilian butt lifts or the fat transferred to the buttock area. And there's large vessels in the buttock area. And if the fat is transferred inadvertently into one of those vessels, it essentially goes up to your lungs and suffocates you.
That's right.
If somebody is right now, because I'm sure that there is somebody watching, and it may be you, that is dissatisfied with how they look, and they're in one of these groups or thinking about going overseas to get a surgery, what is it that you want to say, doctor?
I say get out of the groups. When I do consults in my office, I ask them if they're in those groups. The groups are bad.
Thank you.
It changes the way you make decisions. It changes the way you perceive yourself. So I think first remove yourself from the group. Red flags, if the doctor should be a board certified plastic surgeon, not cosmetic surgeon.
How do you, okay, so big
There's a
difference between
difference.
plastic and cosmetic
Yes.
surgeon. But how do you know? Because if you're dealing with other countries, how do you know if the license is legit, if it's
Exactly.
been bought,
Wild West.
if it's
Exactly.
fake?
You don't. That's
Wild
the
West.
problem.
That's what happened with
That's the problem. If you can't elucidate these things because they have different, everything's different. The rules are different. There's a language barrier. There's so many things. So you can't like with certainty figure any of that stuff out. That's the problem. That's why it's just best not to do that.
Well, that's what I think. Don't do it.
Yeah. That's how I kind of feel too. I mean, there are lots of really good cosmetic surgeons out there that will be very direct and honest and open with you and really like work with you and, make sure that they are doing a good job, not just by you, but for their standards and of their practice. So that's why I'm like, there's so many people that they don't want to be told no by a doctor. Like, well, I'm paying you. Why aren't you doing what I want? And these people don't really understand that sometimes what they're trying to get will be too dangerous. The recovery, it might not work for you. Like, there's just so much that you need to consider when you are going for these cosmetic surgeries, I just want people to be smart and safe and, get second, third, fourth opinions before you actually like go for it, That's all I care. I just want people to be happy and healthy and not harm themselves. Let me see, where are we at in my class right now? So we got that, and then we have Into Thin Air. What is this one? Oh, this is a long read. It's from a book as well. Aubrey Gordon, Into Thin Air. So there's that one, and then we can go to the lectures.
Gender, or how we experience and perceive differences along the masculine and feminine spectrum, is rooted in how bodies appear in space. Our experience and perception of gender is highly sensory. It involves all the senses: touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. We apply each of these senses to bodies that appear before us and use these senses to assign meaning and value to these bodies. Consider the sense of smell. Our society attributes specific smells to femininity and others to masculinity. In this slide, you can see the gendered marketing campaign of the fashion company Christian Dior, which markets different perfumes to women and men. We also associate touch with gender. Our society attributes certain textures to masculinity and others to femininity. Masculinity is often associated with rough textures, while femininity is associated with smoother
Soft,
textures.
yeah. But also, I wish I had never started shaving my legs. I actually don't think kids should really start it, but that's just me. I mean, it's not gonna like super harm you, so I don't really care either way, but I just don't want people to think that they have to do something because society has done something for so long, or, society, the magazines are dictating what you're supposed to look like. I stopped shaving a long time ago, mostly because I have such sensitive skin that it actually harms my skin for me to shave, and I don't want to be putting my skin through that all the time. So I just stopped doing it. Because I'm sorry, but if a man told me that they cared about that, and someone has told me this before, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna start shaving just because you think that I'm less beautiful or gross because I have hair on my body. Like, sir, what? No, just no.
Gender involves an intricate inner.
But I also realize that I am just kind of more of a rebel and like, what the fuck are you doing to yourself type of person. And I'm just like, you want me to do what? That makes zero sense to me. That does not provide any happiness to me. So therefore, no, I will not be doing this.
Play or dialogue between the external and internal. We internalize social messages we receive from the world and shape ourselves in accordance with those messages. We become ourselves through the social messages we receive and then present ourselves to the world, in effect, shaping what the world becomes. The philosopher and gender theorist Judith Butler argues that gender is a performance. In an essay called Performative Acts and Gender Constitution, published in 1988, Butler writes, "The body becomes its gender through a series of acts, which are renewed, revised, and consolidated through time. When we perform gender, we're adhering to scripts of femininity and masculinity that we've inherited from society. Society serves as our audience and polices our performance. Other people in the social sphere praise and reward us when our performance conforms to their expectations for what they think our gender should be and how it should look. When our performance is off, when it doesn't quite hit society's ideal, we're punished with criticism, ridicule, isolation, the removal of resources and opportunities, and even violence. Our performance of gender includes many things: how we adorn our bodies, how we move and position our bodies, and how we alter our bodies to fit norms of masculinity and femininity are all part of how we become our gender. The norms of masculinity and femininity we seek to embody are shaped in part by heteropatriarchy, where power flows towards cisgender heterosexual men and away from women and LGBTQ plus people. In this image, you can see a crowded subway car in which a person who appears masculine sits with their legs spread apart in a posture
Man
that's come to
spreading,
be
this is
known
funny.
as manspreading. while the more feminine appearing passengers
We do
pull
remember
their bodies
this, don't
closer
we?
and sit with their legs crossed at the knees or ankles. How we sit, especially in public, is part of how we perform gender in US culture. We're taught that certain postures are more masculine, while other postures are more feminine. Many of us have experienced gender policing around sitting. People may say, "That's not a very ladylike way to sit," to someone they think should act or appear more feminine. Or, "You're sitting like a girl," to someone they think should act or appear more masculine. These two images were captured in November 2016 after Donald Trump won the US presidential election. Both Trump and his wife Melania Trump visited the White House and met then President Barack Obama and then First Lady Michelle Obama. Notice the differences between how the men's bodies appear in space and how the women's bodies appear in space. Donald Trump and Barack Obama, as different as they are in background, personality, and racial identity, are sitting in strikingly similar ways. Their posture conforms to what Americans expect from male leaders: strength and boldness. Their knees are wide apart, they're leaning forward in their seats. It looks like they're ready for attack. While their husbands met in the Oval Office, the room where US presidents make decisions and conduct official business, Melania Trump and Michelle Obama met for tea in a different room. They talked about raising children and took a tour of the White House's private residence. Their postures in this image, where they're having tea with a bouquet of flowers carefully arranged in
Hi, Arya. Welcome in.
front of them, conforms to what Americans
Excuse me.
expect
Sorry.
from women, especially wives and mothers. In their clothing choices, as well as in the ways they've groomed and positioned their bodies, Melania Trump and Michelle Obama perform femininity, communicating a delicate, poised, and accommodating presence.
Oh, excuse me. So sorry.
We perform gender in the ways we sit and move. We perform gender through the work we do and the forms of leisure activities we participate in. We perform gender by making our bodies look a certain way and changing our bodies to fit gender norms and expectations. Consider how the clothes and products we buy, as well as the grooming choices we make, are often influenced by the gendered roles we're expected to play in society. They are, in essence, the costumes we wear to perform our gender identities. The fashion and cosmetics industries cultivate gendered norms of beauty, competence, and desirability, encouraging us to alter our bodies in both subtle and dramatic ways to meet socially constructed expectations about gender. These expectations are shaped by heteropatriarchy, as well as white supremacy and centuries of European colonialism, which have
Hey,
elevated
Arya, do
white
you want to be
bodies
a
and
mod for
privileged
me?
lighter skin tones and Eurocentric ideals of beauty, proportion, and attractiveness. The global beauty industry is valued at over $530 billion and aggressively advertises to women, convincing them they need to purchase a whole host of personal products and services to have a chance at being attractive and successful.
Yeah, this is the stuff that gets me is like, there's so many people who want to look up to all these like celebs so that they end up buying like celebs branded products, um, spending lots of money on things that they don't really need. Also, like, I find the skincare industry to be pretty predatory as well, because that's part of the beauty industry, right? And hold on one second. I need to fix this mic is not working with me very well today. Let's put it at 7. There we go. Okay, this should be a good level. So yeah, you're gonna end up spending like a lot of money if you're only going off of what's being advertised to you. Now, when I do buy things that I know are being advertised to me, I'm not getting it because that person has it. I will go in and research what that person is sponsoring or using. And if I like the way that it works for them, I want to research it, see what the cost is. Is it something that I need? Is it something that will, not break the bank? All that kind of stuff. Lots of people don't like to do research or don't know to even research. So that's why they will just buy the things branded to them, sponsored to them by their favorite YouTubers, Instagram models, celebrities, stuff like that. And so I realized that, especially in skincare, you don't need half the stuff that people tell you that you should get. And I never like spending that much money on things unless I know that it's going to work for me. Yes. So because my skin and my acne is so weird, normal over the counter products don't really work for me. The only over the counter product that I was told to get by my dermatologist, it's $40. It's $40 body wash. And it works. I didn't want to buy it because it's $40 body wash, right? My dermatologist was like, this is the combination that I think will work for you. Let's just try it. And I have a cream and a body wash. And I guess I will just continue to spend that $40 for that body wash because I do know that it helps my acne. But I would never just go off and buy that thinking, I wonder if this will work for me. I like to do so much research, talk to my doctors, figure out a plan. Because when I know that normal over-the-counter stuff doesn't work for me, I'm not going to go crazy spending money. I want to, someone to tell me, no, I've looked at your skin, I've looked at what's going on, let's try this. I think this is going to target it. But I also know that not a lot of people want to do that or are in the position to even do that or get a dermatologist to look you over. But even dermatologists on YouTube that I have found, they have even said, if you're going to do a normal skin care routine and you just have normal everyday skin, like most people, then, using a good cleanser, moisturizer with SPF, that's really all you need. And yeah, so there's just so much advertising to people that we buy these things that end up just, we're throwing them away. We're throwing away our money. I had a hard time with acne, but I use Panoxyl. I don't know what that is, but cool. I'm glad you found something that worked for you. Yeah, when it comes to weird, uncommon skin disorders, well, eczema is a pretty common skin disorder, but even with that, you still have to target it a specific way. So there's just certain things that you do have to get specific products for. But yeah, I just try and tell people, no, you don't have to buy all that stuff. You really don't. And so also some places are putting things into their masks or their formula that actually is going to cause irritation on someone's skin. So I just want people to be careful. And also, let me give you the site that I use, EWG. There is another one that is really good to use, but this is the normal one that I go to. And so for example, oh, look at that. I do use April Skin stuff. So if we here we go. This is the stuff I use. And it does say 4. And I tend to try not to get things that are 4 and above. I tend to try to stick with everything that's 3 and like a 1 to a 3. But I wanted to try this because I do know that the Korean market has really good skincare products. And I've actually liked this. So you go and you click on it and it will tell you like, so there is stuff in it that has caused allergies. It doesn't mean that it's going to cause you an allergy, but it's just letting you know there are things inside of it that can cause like immune responses. And I bet that is just like the candula that's in there. There's like, and then I think there's like a little bit of alcohol in it. So I do notice that if my skin is feeling particularly sensitive that day, I may not want to use the mask because it burns just slightly, but that's me. It doesn't normally burn, but it's only if my skin is having a really sensitive moment. And then, so the use restrictions, because they know that it has some things in it that could cause irritation, they want you to make sure that you follow the restrictions. And then you come down here and it gives you all the ingredient scores. So like here, they have orange peel oil in it. So that's probably what my skin is reacting to, honestly, because it's citrus. And then the salicylic acid, some people are allergic to. That's why it's registered like that. So that's why like when you research these things, you want to look at all the data and label information, because just because like this says 5 doesn't mean that it's going to give you a reaction. It just means that it has given people reactions. So they can't list it as something that's completely interaction free. You know what I mean? So like I said, Skin Deep, this website is really a good jumping off point. And then right here, EWG verified. I've noticed that some products will get verified by them and they'll actually use the logo on their thing. Yeah, everyone's acne treatment face wash. Okay, everyone's skin is so different. I have to be careful buying skincare since I have celiac. Okay, so I have celiac too. So do you have a skin reaction to the gluten? Because I don't have a skin reaction. I just have, oh, and you're severely, I had a friend that was really allergic to oats too. So sorry. Yeah, I have celiac, but I mean, when you have celiac, it affects everybody differently. Some people don't think that it can land you in the hospital, but it really can. And you have to constantly be repairing your body. Also, people don't realize that, I mean, it's not very fatal, and like the statistics show, it's a very, very, very small percentage that have died from celiac. So there is a possibility of it being fatal. So I feel like celiac disease should really be taken more seriously, like the peanut allergy. But because it's listed as a trend, I think some people don't even think about it. Give me just 1 second. I wanted to give you an example. Mine has gotten worse through the years. So this is the stuff that they had me buy over the counter. It's called Think Clinically Clean Daily Hypoallergenic Body Wash for compromised skin, prone to rash, eczema, and irritation. And it does have the EWG logo on it right here. So this little bottle is $40, but it has helped. And I've also noticed that it is stress induced. I have a couple of spots right now and I'm like, God damn it. And I'm trying really hard not to pick them because I've been under a lot of stress. And the stress makes skin issues worse. But yeah, so that's the stuff that I've been using for a few months, and it's actually been the one thing that has actually helped. And I don't understand. Here's another thing. When you have to get referrals, I had to go to my doctor for years. Like, okay, nope, what you just gave me didn't work either. Let's try something else. Before, like, why don't you just send me to the dermatologist? Why make me try a bunch of things that I'm just wasting money on, and you're not actually like fixing anything or really understanding what, like, I went to the dermatologist and in like a few minutes she just looked at me, she was like, okay, yep, this is what we're gonna try. She did, however, try to get me on doxycycline, and I didn't quite, my body did not like that. It was extremely hard to keep anything down, and I absolutely could not keep it down. You really never heard anybody else being allergic to oats? It is a weird allergy. I hadn't heard about it until I met her. But I mean, people can be allergic to a lot of different things, and I feel like some of the main ones are like oats, dairy, gluten, wheat, peanuts. Because a lot of different things can cause anaphylactic shock. Like, you don't know what your body is going to end up being allergic to. And sometimes you can grow out of allergies. Sometimes your allergies can get worse, or you can develop them as you age. But anyway, let's get back to the lecture. And I will make you mod in just a moment, Aria. I have to go into my phone and do that.
The industry relies on maintaining impossible expectations around women's looks so it can continue to rake in enormous profits. A recent study by the online beauty platform StyleSeat found that Americans spend an average of $110 a month on beauty, fitness, and wellness. Beauty spending on haircuts, skincare, and hair care were the areas where Americans spent the most, with women and non-binary people spending significantly more than men. The difference between how much men and women spend on beauty is sometimes described as the grooming gap. For women, the set of social norms around maintaining and enhancing appearance are more rigid.
Okay, Aria, if you refresh your screen, you should have a wrench.
And women workers expend more time and money trying to meet gendered beauty norms. While the average American woman spends at least $30 more a month on beauty products and services than the average American man, she also spends more time. The average American woman loses 55 minutes of free time a day to grooming, which is the equivalent of 2 full weeks a year. Women are constantly bombarded with advertisements and images of the ideal woman: thin, white or light skinned, cisgender, able bodied, young, and beautiful. These ideals carry over into the workplace
You are
and create more
wrenched.
pressure on women to
You
spend
are
their
the
wages on clothes, cosmetics,
community's
bad diets, and
wrench.
anti-aging products. Spending their money this way diminishes women workers' ability to accumulate wealth, sapping their time and energy towards ends that are decided by companies whose goal is to make a profit above all else. The grooming gap
all about
stems from our
money.
society's fear and disgust around women's bodies. Heteropatriarchy is rooted in ideas about women as other, deviant, abnormal, and unruly. Ideas the beauty industry capitalizes on to sell women products and services to standardize their bodies. White supremacy intersects with heteropatriarchy to create an added layer of oppression for Black women and other women of color, who are expected to groom themselves more intensively to conform to a white European standard of attractiveness and respectability. There's a long history of Black workers being discriminated against and even fired for failing to conform to their employers' ideas about what counts as a professional appearance. The word unprofessional is used to police Black workers' bodies and
Yeah, because there's like a huge history on like Black people's hair and dreads and stuff, and how they never wanted Black people to have their natural hair. not even entirely sure. I know about like dreads, they thought they were just dirty and made you gross, but is it because they think that black people's hair is distracting? I don't get it. Because I've seen some white people with just as curly hair with huge, like, thick curls. So I don't get it. It's like white people need to constantly police somebody and something. It's all about always demonizing somebody, and it's just really gross.
Punish them for showing up with their natural hair. In 2017, Black women in the US spent $473 million on relaxers, weaves, and other hair care, in part because of racist ideas that natural Black hair is not professional or attractive. Annually, Black workers spend 9 times more on hair and beauty products than other workers.
Also, the way that we've made Black people just keep with like the braiding, it can cause alopecia, which is why like you see people like Jada Pinkett Smith coming out talking about alopecia. So alopecia can either be like you can be born with it and it just like attacks all your hair follicles, or it can be like induced alopecia. And because the braids have to be so tight, it ends up pulling so much on the hair follicles that eventually like it damages the root follicle and it won't grow back.
Grooming isn't the only way our society encourages us to conform to gendered body ideals. Diet culture also plays a significant role in shaping social expectations about how our bodies should appear. Diet culture refers to a system of beliefs and practices that elevates thin bodies above fat ones and equates thinness with both health and virtue. The first text I've assigned in this module is a chapter from the book What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat by Aubrey Gordon. Gordon is a writer, podcaster, and fat justice activist who's critical of diet culture and its anti-fat bias. Gordon identifies as fat, a term whose neutrality she embraces to characterize the proportions of her body. The chapter I've assigned from Gordon's book is called Into Thin Air. In it, she describes an experience she had on a flight when the man assigned to the seat next to her asked to be reseated. Gordon recounts the humiliation she felt during the flight and the humiliation she continues to feel whenever she flies. Despite my best efforts when I do fly, the experience remains punishing at every turn. Still, couples stare at me while I wait to board at the gate, openly discussing my body and trying to sneak a picture. Still, passengers issue full-throated complaints about sharing space with my body. Still, they complain to flight attendants loudly while I sit silently beside them, my body a knot of...
That is insane. Why do you feel so entitled that you want to make fun of, not just make fun of someone and the way they look, but you go in and you take a picture? This happens to disabled people too. It's just insane. Like, one day I'm going to detail, especially my airport stories on being a disabled person trying to fly.
Tension, forever tightening while I will it to shrink. Gordon explains how pro-thin, anti-fat bias is everywhere in US culture. Anti-fat attitudes are both powerful and profitable, and most of us have internalized them as we move through a world designed for and around thin bodies. One of the most toxic anti-fat attitudes Gordon points out is the idea that fat people are responsible for their misfortune, not society. When Gordon tells a friend about mistreatment she's experienced on flights, her friend ultimately says, "I guess if you hate it that much, you should just lose weight."
That's not a great attitude to have.
Attitude is reflected in how invested Americans are in diet culture. Collectively, Americans spend over $30 billion a year on diet products, and an estimated 45 million Americans go on a diet each year. Thinness isn't just an ideal we see elevated by the beauty, fashion, diet, and fitness industries. It's also ingrained in medicine through the BMI, or body mass index. The body mass index was created by a 19th century Belgian statistician to promote his model of the ideal man. It originated with a small sample of white, male, Scottish, and French soldiers. In the 1970s, it was adopted by prominent American doctors and has been weaponized against Americans of all sizes, genders, and races ever since.
People also police thin bodies as well in certain areas of the world, like for dancing, for example, ballet. I was like 130 pounds when I was doing ballet in my teenage years, and they kept wanting me to lose more and more weight. I already had an eating disorder. Trigger warning, not going to go into too many details. But when you have control over your food, when someone else has control over your food growing up, you learn very quickly. I don't know how to describe this. Like, I basically know that it started when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and the way my grandmother was. And part of some religious sects, especially like Mormonism, LDS, Southern Baptists, it's a privilege to have food, even as a child. And so I would have people my grandmother controlling my eating, and always like questioning me when I went into the kitchen, what are you getting? But then when you have beauty magazines, your friends, peers, all like giving you mixed messages, media, all these like external forces giving you other things that you must fit into, other boxes that you need to fit into, you're gonna like crash at some point if you don't get a handle on it yourself. And I have never been to a therapist specifically about my eating disorder, but I've gone to like some support groups for it. So it's fairly under control, but you know, stress, depression, those play a lot into eating disorder as well. I mean, there's lots of factors that can cause that to happen. And so, like, especially like in ballet, like a friend of mine was called fat by the teacher, who was just a little bit bigger than me, not by much, but just had really big boobs too. And generally, you don't see big boobed people in professional ballet. So, yeah, she was called fat. It wasn't until like probably early 2000s that they really started putting nutritionists into the ballet schools.
The anti-fat bias inherent in the BMI is widespread, and as Gordon explains in her book, it's one of many tools used to blame fat people for the harm they experience in society. She writes, I am expected to absorb the discomfort and outright bias against my body in a world built for thin people. The responsibility is mine and mine alone. Should my body cost an airline more, it is my responsibility to pay them. Should my body cause discomfort for anyone around me, it is my responsibility to apologize and to comfort them. Should I begin to question why my body is forever a problem, it is my responsibility to keep quiet. And should these problems become untenable for me, it is my responsibility to just lose weight. The decent thing, after all, is to transform my body for the sake of those around me. Gordon resists the pressure US society imposes on fat people to change themselves. Instead of diet culture, she advocates for fat justice. In the introduction to her book, she writes, "We can build a world that doesn't assume fat people are failed thin people, or that thin people are categorically healthy and virtuous. We can build a world that conspires against eating disorders and body dysmorphia, working toward more safety for eating disorder survivors of all sizes. We can build a world in which fat bodies are valued and supported just as much as thin ones." That's it for the first lecture in Module 7, Gendered Alterations. Thanks for your attention. There is one more lecture in this module.
Whoa. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Let's see. There's only one more part. And I'm gonna pull it up so it's ready.
Involves the restoration.
Okay. Excuse me, sorry. Very phlegmy. All right, I will BRB like 10 minutes.
천진 나만 청순 가련 새침 한척 이젠 지쳤나 귀찮아 매일 뭐해 어디야 밥은 잘자 baby 자기 여보 보고 싶어 다 부질없어 You got me like 이건 아무 감정 없는 love story 어떤 설렘도 어떤 의미도 내게 미안하지만 I'm not sorry 오늘부터 나나나 Bitch 나는 solo Bitch 나는 solo I'm going solo lo, 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 lo. I'm going solo lo, 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 lo. Used to be your girl, now I'm used to being the girl. You sitting on your feelings and sitting on my throne. I ain't got no time for the troubles in your eyes. This time I'm only looking at me, myself, and I. I'ma do it on my own now. Now that you're alone, got you looking for a clone now. That's how I'm getting down, destined for the center crown. Singing loud like 이건 아무 감정 없는 love story 어떤 설렘도 어떤 의미도 내게 미안하지만 I'm not sorry 오늘부터 나나나 Bitch 나는 solo Bitch 나는 Japanese. I said hype, hype. That's my life, life, baby. I'm a rock star. Been on a mission, but they call me catch and kill. I'm still in diamonds, make them chase me for the thrill. Been MIA, BKK, so pretty. Every city that I go's my city. Gold teeth sitting on a dash. She a rock star. Make your favorite singer wanna rap, baby. La la, Lisa, can you teach me Japanese? I said hype, hype. That's my life, life, baby. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star. Is that hype, hype, baby? Make it rock hard. Make a wish, babe. What you wanna do? Dipping out of base cities like a pontoon. It's a fast life. It's an attitude. Put it on a calendar. Tell me when to come through. Yes, yes, I can spend it. Yes, yes. No pretending. Tight dress. I'll be sent it. Oh shit. Lisa rapping. Been on a mission, but they call me catch and kill. I'm still in diamonds. Make them chase me for the thrill. Been MIA, BKK, so pretty. Every city that I go's my city. Gold teeth sitting on a dash. She a rock star. Make your favorite singer wanna rap, baby. La la, Lisa, can you teach me Japanese? I said hype, hype. That's my life, life, baby. I'm a rock star. Gold teeth sitting on a dash. She a rock star. Make your favorite singer wanna rap, baby. La la, Lisa, can you teach me Japanese? I said hype, hype. That's my life, life, baby. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star. Is that hype, hype, baby? Make it rock hard. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star. Is that hype, hype, baby? Make it rock hard. And the music going. And the girls are posing. I get you in a. Is that hype, hype, baby? I'm a rock star.
She's certified freak, 10 days a week. The way she's moving got me crazy, got me weak. Yeah, yeah. She's Costa, baby. Lip brow got me loca, crazy. And she's straight out the bopa, yeah. So know how she is. Everybody knows that she's so for sure. Yeah, I can take no more. And oh, she got the thing that I'm looking for. Due to my Barrymore, I'ma go to town on my friends. She's certified freak, 10 days a week. The way she's moving got me crazy, got me weak. She's certified freak. I'm on my knees. The way she's looking like a movie, baby, please. The way she's moving got me crazy, freaking on the daily. We don't need no Benz, she's right a model like Mercedes. She's the only reason to make you stay this weekend. Gonna where to be, you bring the moon, I bring the way now. And oh, she got the thing that I'm looking for. Due to my Barrymore, I'ma go to town on my friends. She's certified freak, 10 days a week. The way she's moving got me crazy, got me weak. She's certified freak. I'm on my knees. The way she's looking like a movie, baby, please. She's certified freak. Certified freak. She's certified. Stop, hold up, wait a minute. Everybody knows that she can freak you with it. Gonna test drive like Honda Civic. Feel like too fast, gonna speeding ticket. You get me higher. Look in the mirror, I see a fire. Baby, I'm dreaming, see you making me speechless. That's me. Loving the way you smell. Yeah, everybody wants a little piece. I'll be on the throne, did you know that I'm the queen? She is certified. Keeping it on the low. But little did I know that she's ready me. I'm certified freak, 10 days a week. The way she's moving got me crazy, got me weak. I'm certified freak. I'm on my knees. The way she's looking like a movie, baby, please. I'm certified freak.
we in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers. 아무도 모르던 fairy tales. 섬세하게 감각들을 깨워내는 way. 이 불투명한 미지 속에서 나 아슬하게 길을 걸어. 환상 속의 미친 그림자. I don't wanna wait. 아무도 모를 네 향기 속에 나를 던져. 1, 2, 3 눈에 드는 secret. 만개하는 빛 불어오는 환희. 마치 환상 위 in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers. 1, 2, 3 기분 전환하는 알 수 없는 길 나들어는 공기. 꿈을 꾸듯이 in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers. 기분 좋은 낯선 노란색. 수많은 이름 중에 뭐가 좋을지. 밤을 먹으면 더 깊어 like the moon. 이런 새벽 같은 신비로운 mood. You're my dahlia, tulips and daisies. 느리게 번지는 향기 violet sunset. 세상에 녹는 듯해. 나만의 화분에 비밀을 티폰에. 흐린 계절에도 흩어지지 않게. 1, 2, 3 눈을 뜨는 secret. 만개하는 빛 불어오는 환희. 마치 환상 위 in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers. 1, 2, 3 기분 좋은 morning. 알 수 없는 길 나를 하는 공기. 꿈을 꾸듯이 in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers. 천천히 네 눈에 비친 날 봐. 선명히 번지는 환상. My only one 눈이 부신 나의 꽃. 계속 나를 불러줘. 1, 2, 3 너만 나의 secret. 이야기 우리 감싸는 부드러운 길 in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers. 1, 2, 3 가로막힌 exit. 달라진 현실 다시 눈을 감지. 잠겨 영원히 in my garden. Show me your flowers, show me your flowers, flowers.
Okay. I am back. Okay, let's go back to the screen.
Involves the restoration, reconstruction, or alteration of the human body. It can be divided into two main categories: reconstructive surgery and cosmetic surgery. Reconstructive surgery restores body parts that have sustained damage due to illness, burns, or trauma, while cosmetic surgery focuses on body enhancement.
Yeah. Oh, I want to show you something really fast. This is amazing. I've been following this girl ever since her accident. Let's see. So, yeah. This is what she looks like.
I also have a tattoo artist that goes back and forth, so also planning with her and then my busy schedule, it's been very chaotic. I am 100% planning on getting my lip tattooed. I just need to create the space and the time to do it. I can't even believe this is how my lip healed. If you were to tell me, like I've said before, 2 years ago that I'd look how I do now, I would not have believed you. I am genuinely so grateful for my surgeon, so happy with how the results turned out. Next step is tattooing, and then that will be the last thing with my lip. Exactly.
Yeah, so let's see. I think this might show some of the progress.
I hope you know how loved you are. It is finally sunny in California.
This is the one triangle, and this is the second triangle. This dotted line here is at transition. So I knew that in between these two dotted lines, that's where we'd have to take fat out. This is supposed to be emptier. Now, if it's too empty, then we look old. But I wanted this flat because that would be normative in regards to your stated age. But this area has to be slightly emptier here.
So we're trying to make this come out a little more. So we're trying to go through, like, if we wanted to like do like a fat graft. But the only problem
It's limited to just what would be termed the vermilion, the red lip, and not have it fill out past here.
But do you think it would?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
Fat in it. You would think it would just.
Yeah.
So like there are a couple of ways. I mean, one is that like it sounds dumb, but I literally just put finger pressure on it, and I.
Anyways, like her progress, she had her whole entire upper lip pulled off by a dog, and it's just been amazing watching what medical technology can do for that kind of thing in reconstruction.
It's important to note that cosmetic surgery does not include gender affirmation surgeries. Gender affirmation surgeries refer to procedures that help people transition to their self-identified gender. The medical consensus in the United States today is that gender affirmation surgeries are reconstructive, not cosmetic. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons states, gender affirmation surgeries are performed by a multi-specialty team that typically includes board-certified plastic surgeons. The goal is to give transgender individuals the physical appearance and functional abilities of the gender they know themselves to be. The goal of cosmetic surgery, on the other hand, isn't gender affirmation or reconstruction, but body enhancement. The pursuit of body enhancement through surgical procedures maps onto socially constructed ideals about how bodies should appear, ideals informed by heteropatriarchy, white supremacy, diet and fitness culture, and the beauty industry. According to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, the top 5 most common cosmetic surgical procedures in the US are nose reshaping, eyelid surgery, facelift, liposuction, and breast augmentation. The US isn't the only place where cosmetic surgery is popular. The global demand for cosmetic surgery is increasing. In 2019, 11.36 million cosmetic surgeries were done worldwide, and another 13.6 million non-surgical procedures. That year, Brazil performed the most cosmetic surgery procedures worldwide, followed by the US. The second text I've assigned in this module will help us think more critically about cosmetic surgery and its relationship to gender, power, and identity. It's an essay called The Pitfalls of Plastic Surgery by American feminist and social critic Camille Paglia. Paglia is not against cosmetic surgery. She accepts the human drive to improve and perfect ourselves and believes the drive for perfection applies to how our bodies appear and the tools we use to make our bodies appear better. To this end, she views plastic surgery as part of the natural quest for human perfection. She writes, "Nothing, I submit, will stop the drive of the human species toward beauty and the shimmering illusion of perfection. It is one of our deepest and finest instincts. From prehistory on, tribal peoples flattened their skulls, pierced their noses, elongated their necks, stretched their earlobes, and scarred or tattooed
But maybe they shouldn't.
their entire bodies to achieve the most admired look. Mutilation is in the eye of the beholder." But Paglia distinguishes between perfection and uniformity. She's against the use of cosmetic surgery to create bodies that all look the same. Good surgery, she argues, discovers and reveals personality. Bad surgery obscures and distorts it. The urgent problem is that today's cosmetic surgeons are drawing from too limited a repertoire of images. Plastic surgery is an art form. Therefore, surgeons need training in art as well as medicine. For Paglia, cosmetic surgery is worthwhile if it emphasizes the traits of an individual that make that person distinct. What it's become, however, is a method of social conformity.
Don't
Our
conform.
image of the ideal
Don't
body
do it.
is rigid and
Don't
narrow.
be a Kardashian.
And cosmetic surgery simply reinforces these narrow and rigid ideals. We find evidence of the conformity Paglia is critical of on social media sites like Instagram. There, we see the convergence of facial features and other physical attributes that encourage people, especially young women, to project the same look. In December 2019, writer Gia Tolentino published an article in The New Yorker called The Age of Instagram Face, in which she chronicled how, over the course of the last decade, social media, photo editing apps, and plastic surgery have worked together to create a single cyborgian look. The third text I've assigned in this module also addresses a practice of body shaping or alteration based on a gendered body ideal. Female genital cutting is a practice found extensively in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. It involves an elder or other community member slicing off all or part of a woman or girl's clitoris and labia, parts of female genitalia, as part of a ceremony that is often conducted around the time of puberty.
Why don't you just have like a dance and text, like a bar mitzvah or something, or a quinceanera? Like, we don't need to be cutting off full parts of our body that will cause complications.
Many national governments and women's rights activists have campaigned against female genital cutting, citing its connection to infections, infertility, and childbirth complications. Organizations such as the United Nations have also called for its abolition as a matter of women's health and human rights. Some feminists are concerned about FGC because they see it as destroying an integral part of a woman's anatomy, which they believe undermines her sexual autonomy and prevents her from experiencing sexual pleasure. They see the cutting as a form of mutilation, which is why some people refer to FGC as female genital mutilation, or FGM. Although it's been under attack for decades,
Yeah, with
FGC
Cher, yes.
persists. It's
Why do we need
practiced
to
in at least
be
30
so
countries
barbaric?
in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, as well as within some immigrant communities in Europe, North America, and Australia.
I've heard of women like growing up and like feeling like they weren't women because they experienced no pleasure because of this. Like, let's stop circumcision on everybody because it's not necessary.
The World Health Organization, which is against FGC, estimates that more than 200 million women and girls alive today have undergone the procedure. In this map, you can see the countries where FGC is prevalent. It has the highest incidence in Somalia, Guinea, and Sudan, where over 90% of women have undergone it. The third assigned text in this module is an interview between the journalist Olga Kazan, who writes for The Atlantic, and Bettina Schell Duncan, an anthropologist at the University of Washington, Seattle, who studies the practice of female genital cutting. In the interview, Schell Duncan, the UW anthropologist, tries to contextualize FGC, explaining that it's a significant part
Which
of
I
being
read
seen as a woman
in the beginning of
places where it's
this.
practiced. Locals refer to the practice as female circumcision. You may have heard the word circumcision before. Here in the US, it's mostly used to refer to male circumcision, a practice in which the skin covering the hood of the penis is surgically removed.
I do wonder if she's going to go through intersex surgeries, because let's just stop all surgeries that are not necessary on bebés, please. Why are we so obsessed with genitals? It's weird.
In the US, circumcisions are generally performed on newborns who've been assigned male before they leave the hospital, and often within the first 2 days of life. It's most common in Jewish and Muslim communities, where its meaning is associated with norms of masculinity and community belonging. The rate of circumcision on male-assigned newborns in the US has gone down over the past few decades.
Because
In
they used to tell you it
1981,
was for
65% of
cleanliness.
male-assigned newborns were circumcised. In 2007, that number had declined to 55%. Globally, slightly over 1 in 3 men are circumcised. Female circumcision has sparked controversy in part because of its physiological impact. Female circumcision cuts the clitoris, which is a sensitive and pleasure-producing protrusion. Male circumcision, on the other hand, leaves the most sensitive areas of male genitalia intact.
Not all of it, though.
For this
And some
reason and
remove
others,
too
Bettina
much.
Shell Duncan acknowledges that
And
female
it goes
circumcision
down as
is
you
troubling.
age.
At the same time, she conveys the significance it has for women in communities where it's practiced. For us in the West, we believe bodies are natural and perfect. Not everybody believes that. Some people in Africa believe bodies are androgynous and that all male and female bodies contain male and female parts. So a male's foreskin is a female part, and for a female, the covering of the clitoris is a male part. The idea of becoming a fully
Interesting.
formed female includes being cut, having any part that is somewhat male-like removed from the body. Shell Duncan's explanation challenges the views Kazan had about the practice of FGC. As Kazan writes, I thought African girls were held down and butchered against their will, but some of them voluntarily and joyfully partake in the ritual. I thought communities would surely abandon
Probably
the
because
practice
they
once
don't
they learned
know
of
what's
its negative health
coming.
consequences. And yet, in Shell Duncan's experience, most people who practiced FGC recognize its costs. They just think the benefits outweigh them.
What benefits? Like, tell me,
As
what are
Shell
the
Duncan
benefits?
says, female genital cutting is not an individual behavior. For example, if I decide I want to lose weight and that I'm going to start exercising on a daily basis, I can decide that all by myself. If I decide I don't want to circumcise my daughter, that's not an individual behavior. I would have to answer to my husband, to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law would have to answer to her friends throughout the community. My father-in-law would have to answer to people in the community. So there's societal pressure. So understanding
right?
what is a collective decision versus individual is really important. This is a crucial point. We in the West often understand gender through the lens of individualism. Individualism is a philosophy and worldview that emphasizes the moral worth of the individual and centers the individual as a foundational unit of society. Cultures that emphasize individualism promote values
I
like
don't know, actually.
independence,
I feel like I have to do
self-sufficiency,
more
autonomy,
research
and uniqueness.
to see
Think about Camille Paglia's defense of cosmetic surgery.
what that says. Like, if there's any articles out there that talk about that. I do know that above all else, it was probably part of the religion because most religions do control women. So they don't want women to have the pleasure, they just want them to have the babies. And yeah, again, I am tolerant to a point. Practice what you want to practice, but when you're starting to abuse, mutilate for no reasons, if you're doing things that like cutting off body parts and crap for your rituals, just, I don't know, re-examine yourself, re-examine the religion. Like, there's no need to it. And especially like with intersex surgeries, like, I know that it's like gone way, way down, but I'm still like part of intersex groups online where every day someone's coming forward going, my condition is XYZ. I just found out. My parents lied to me my whole life, blah, blah, blah. They didn't know what was happening. And when we don't know what's happening with our own bodies, we're not going to feel confident. We're going to feel definitely othered. I mean, this is why like stigmas need to stop. Like, there's probably more trans people than like intersex people, but I think they're still trying to figure out some other some other conditions that might be more related towards intersex. But it really shows you that nothing is black and white, nothing is binary. It's all a spectrum. It's all normal. It's not a mutation or an anomaly. It's just something that normally happens to people. I hate that people get so stuck on like this binary thing. And then when they are fed like the facts, they're like, find a reason to cut that part out of the equation.
For her, cosmetic surgery is worthwhile if it enhances an individual's unique features.
It's
if
hard
it
because
helps
it
them
covers
stand
more than you
out
would
and
think.
stand alone. She's analyzing cosmetic surgery through the lens of individualism.
These are good conversations to
Collectivism
have.
offers another lens. Collectivism is a philosophy and worldview that emphasizes cohesiveness among individuals and the prioritization of the social group over the individual self. Collectivist cultures promote values like duty, loyalty, belonging, and social harmony. Shel Duncan and Kazan, as well as Leela Abu Lugod, whose article we read as part of Module 6, encourage people in the West to look at gender through the lens of collectivism when examining practices like female circumcision and veiling that seem to violate Western understandings of what female bodies should look like. They remind us that people don't only mark and alter their bodies to celebrate their power as individuals. They also mark their bodies to express belonging and membership in a particular social group.
I don't know, maybe stop
In
doing
looking at
that.
gender through the lens of
I just don't see a point to it.
Consider that human rights are part of a context of people living together in societies. Some rights apply to individuals, such as the rights to life and liberty and the freedom from slavery and torture. Other rights apply to groups of people. These rights seek to protect the integrity of a social or cultural group and their access to ancestral lands, as well as their ability to pass traditions down to successive generations. What do you think? In what ways is female circumcision similar to cosmetic surgery? How are these practices of body shaping different from one another?
Well, I mean, they're both pretty barbaric. I mean, you're doing really barbaric things to your body. And people have died from BBLs. So I'm just like, why is getting a butt like that important to you that you would risk your actual life for? Like, come on, it doesn't make sense. And I get that people like have like, you know, I have body dysmorphia too, and there are times I wish that I could change my body, but I also know the risks. I kind of like my genetics, like, so I don't really feel the need to really change anything. I just kind of wish that maybe my eyes, the bags on my eyelids were a little lifted, but that's just a cosmetic reason, just because of makeup. But I don't need it, and I don't really care. Like, I don't want to go through that. And it's the same thing with being trans. Like, it's a very personal decision, and nobody should decide for another trans person if they should be getting surgeries or not. Like, some people don't want to risk getting surgery. I've thought about getting rid of my breasticles many a time, but I know that that's my gender dysphoria, and I actually kind of like them. They're fun. So, I don't know. I've seen people go through complications, and some people are very well aware of the risks. I, however, don't want to put myself through those risks. I might have to get a nose job, but not for cosmetic reasons. For me to be able to breathe properly. Because I think I have a deviated septum on my left side. But let's finish this up.
You'll have a chance to reflect on these questions in the Module 7 discussion.
Oh, that's
for
pretty
the
much
second
it.
and final lecture in Module.
Cool. Anyway, fun bags. Yeah, so like, they're stress balls. But I am starting to get a bit winded and tired and hungry, and I want to go watch Arcane Season 2. I don't know if anybody has Netflix, but there's this show called Arcane. The animation style is very specific to the Riot Studios, and it comes off of a video game called League of Legends. And you don't have to know League of Legends lore in order to watch the show, but it's amazing. Like, oh my gosh, the just the way they animate it is so unique and so cool. The storyline is great. Like, I played League of Legends for years, so I love it. But so I don't know. I recommend that. It's on Netflix. Season 2 just dropped. But anyway, I'm going to let y'all go. I'll need a tummy tuck at some point. Right. No, and like, I understand, like, my grandmother had to do it for safety of her back, and she had already gone through so many back surgeries because the insurance company wouldn't approve it for her. They thought, oh, well, breast reduction is cosmetic and tummy tuck is cosmetic, but eventually they approved it, and she went very, very far down on her boobs and her tummy in order to save her back more. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the replay crew. Thank you. And yeah, I might be really busy tomorrow because I have more schoolwork to do, but I might jump on and do another study stream. Not sure. Either way, I will see you at some point during the week. Until then, stay safe, stay hydrated, hug someone you love, pet a cat, pet a dog, do something for you that makes you feel good. I don't know why I'm talking like this. I feel like a politician all of a sudden, or I don't know. You can do it. Don't look at those stupid magazines. Don't look at the Kardashians. You are beautiful. Your body is beautiful no matter what the fuck anybody else says. Just do what makes you feel healthy. Okay? Bye, guys. Pet a crocodile. That's funny. Don't. You might, get your hand chopped off. But I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, I guess go pet a crocodile. Good night.